Hello, friends. Ruben Lane here at Creative Integration Studio. Today we have it's our first day of the YC3 social media takeover, and I'd like to introduce today's co-host, Khalil Sharif.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
How you doing, Khalil?
I'm doing all right.
Hey,
Keeping nice in quarantine.
before we get started, I just want to confirm that we have audio working as it should, since this seems to be the one ongoing issue. So for those who are just catching us now, give me just a second to confirm that we have a working channel. Okay, let's see. Hey, Khalil, do me a favor. Say a long sentence.
A long sentence. This is a long test. Do you need anything more?
I'll let you know in a second. Yeah, that's right. We are working. It's okay.
Great.
We'll fix it in post.
I'm not seeing the stream on my end here.
On your end?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, never mind. Just had to refresh.
Awesome. Sweet. So, anyway, before we get started, just a quick reminder to everyone that's joining us now. So, this whole week, I'm going to have a number of people from the YC3 Lighting Design camp visiting us, co-hosting. On Thursday, we'll be kind of like reaching the top of the list of this. And it's basically, we're going to have Jamil Sharif, who's the founder and principal designer for YC3, in the control interview room, where we'll just get a little bit in depth. For now, we have Khalil Sharif. Khalil, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm primarily a lighting programmer and operator for YC3 here in Miami. And I'm trying to dwell more and more into video. So that's why I'm here, to learn from the master.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our little world of AI. So we'll switch over here to the tutorial. Hey. Wow, Ruben did a horrible job of cleaning up after himself last time he was here. It's been a really crazy weekend, but we've survived another weekend in quarantine. So let's get started. The main topic for today, it's going to be moving scenery. Moving scenery is basically anything that has to do with moving objects inside of AI. We're talking about moving LED screens, or if you have projection surfaces that are moving across the stage, be it horizontally, vertically, rotation, all those things can be addressed in AI. So we're going to start with that here in 1 second. As soon as I just turn this thing off. I think. Boom. Awesome. So, let's start from scratch. Here, we're just gonna get rid of last week's project. And we'll start here on the construction page by adding just a regular screen for now. I think the easiest way to get started with moving scenery, it's gonna be, let's see, hey, Khalil, when we talk about moving scenery, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What's the most basic application you can think of?
The most basic application would be something like what you did with Menagerie Creation, where you had moving models going up and down.
Okay.
I think up and down would probably be the most simple application I can think of.
Yeah, I can think, actually, there's a lot of theaters nowadays. They're starting to implement smart rigging systems. So you can actually computer control flying in and out of goods. And if you look at our good friends over at ETC, they actually now a smart rigging system that can be integrated into the house control. So that's actually a pretty good place to start. Why don't we start with, let's see, a standard drop is about, what is that, 30 by 20 or so? Let's go 40 by 20 just to get a nice 2 by 4 aspect, yeah. So we'll do the width, it's gonna be 40 feet, and the height is gonna be 20. And we're gonna go ahead and zoom out of that. Now this is our, let's call this a drop. And we're just gonna put this in our path. So, okay, so we start with a regular screen. And again, a screen in AI is pretty much anything that is a projection surface, as well as pretty much anything that you're looking at that has video coming out of it. Like I like to think of it as like the thing that your eyes are going to see, if you will. So whether it be a TV or a monitor, an LED wall, projection surface, or even the actual lights itself, if you're sending DMX out to video over DMX to lighting equipment. So we'll get started right here with our drop. And I think since it's gonna be projection, we'll just put a projector. We'll put him downstage center. Yeah. We're gonna set the aspect ratio of this 16 divided by 9. And probably put like a 0.8 lens. Probably a little more like a 1.1. It's more realistic, if you ask me.
So, if I could ask you real quick about the projector, I always have a hard time knowing exactly what dimensions to change first, whether to decide to change the lens or the distance or the actual range of the output. How do you determine where to start as far as like the location of the projector, or whether you should change the lens or not?
There's a number of lens calculator applications out there. The reality is, if you want to get the most in-depth information for that, I'm gonna go ahead and open a browser window here and take us over to mappingmatter.com. And if you're not familiar with Mapping Matter is it's almost like a pre-visualization and projection study tool. It is paid. I believe there's a free trial for like a month, right at the beginning. And basically what it allows you to do is, as you're seeing in this video, you can put the projector in place and calculate, and the beautiful thing about this particular software is not only does it help you calculate the lens aspect that you can use and help you figure out, what aspect lens you need to use, if it's 16 by 9 or 4 by 3, also the lens, the zoom ratio for it, but it helps you, you'll start seeing here as their projection map in the Arc de Triomphe here, you can pretty much see like the hot zones of like where your blends are happening and how bright, how much brightness can you expect. Not only that, but things down to like the pixel density, which is when you look at the projection, right? This is particularly effective for projection. When you look at a final product, how many pixels are you going to see in an inch of that projection or in a foot? So it's a super versatile tool, and I strongly recommend everyone to take a look at it.
Awesome.
The one thing that I will say, and why I'm saying let's go for a 1.1. My main concern, or what, in a practical application, you can use any lens that you have available. If you have a 1.1, if that's what the rental house has, then you'll set like in this case, I'm setting a 1.1, and I'm just using AI's projection cone to determine where that needs to be. In this case, I need to be 44 feet away to cover, the width, and I'm gonna have a little bit of pixel information left over on the top and the bottom because the aspect of my projector and the aspect of the screen are different. That makes sense?
I see.
But
yeah, absolutely.
the most important thing for me when I'm doing projection mapping or any type of projection, especially for theatrical applications, is the location of that projector and its relation to the audience. So if you think about it, you can pretty much hang a projector anywhere in a theater, but then if you don't attack from the right angle, then now your actors or performers have a limited range of space. Let's say on average 6 to 8 feet is an acceptable amount of stage to lose upstage, where if you get any closer to that to that projection surface, you're gonna start casting a shadow on that projection itself. So that's something that I like to avoid. People think, oh, you can use a 0.8 lens, but most 0.8 lenses have a fixed lens shift, or you can shift it, or even if you can shift it, there's no keystoning, or just because you're using such a warped lens, right? Because it's a fisheye lens, then the amount of distortion that is added to that model, it's really hard to deal with, and it requires you to then grab your model and then add additional vertices so that you can grab if you have a straight line, right? And then the lens is automatically going to add that curvature. So now you need to add a bunch of vertices along that line just so that you're able to just grab them again and line them up. So if you're looking for a super quick projection mapping solution, a 0.8 lens is definitely not it.
Right. Okay.
Anything below 1.0 tends to be trickier to work with. That's just a Ruben tech tip there for projection mapping.
Cool.
I know that I went in quite a ramble there, but
no, that was awesome.
Okay, so we're gonna go back here to the screen for a second, and we're gonna get into some of the actual screen settings. So since we have 40 feet wide by 20 feet tall, it's basically a 2:1 aspect ratio. So we'll know that the canvas resolution for the width is gonna be twice the height. In that case, we're gonna say 2048. Now, funny thing, if you want to actually calculate it properly, what you would want to do is set your X resolution, your width first, since you're only using one projector in this case, and you'll say 1920, and then use your Y resolution by dividing that by half. So 1920 divided by 2. Is there any questions on the comment section?
Yeah, I actually just want to remind everybody, I have a little bit of a delay from everybody else. But if you guys have any questions, just put them on the chat, and as soon as I'm able to read them, I'll let Ruben know.
And you're seeing the Restream chat, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you should be able to see. So you should be able to see everyone's comments from all platforms at the same time. You may, if Khalil is replying though, you will only see them on Facebook. Is that where you're commenting from?
Yes.
Awesome.
It logged me out of the Restream for some reason.
Oh.
It did. I had it open in another tab.
Here, I'll take a quick look at the comments in general here. Let's see. We have Michelle Cliff. Hey, what's going on? Tomas. Hey, buddy. Elian. Wow. Mr. Ruppel. What automation data streams can AI ingest? Pretty much anything right now. I mean, it's not anything, but if you look at, and we'll cover that in a second, so all the basics. So you have ArtNet for sure, MIDI, if you can take MIDI. Now we have streaming OSC, and technically you can take TCP/IP messages as well. So you could feed just raw data through TCP/IP messages into AI, and make that be a way of doing it. What else do we have in here? Stephanie, hola. Alfonso, saludos. Jeremy, Emil. Wow, we have a packed house. This is awesome.
Yeah, Santiago, Emil, the whole family's here.
Beautiful. Okay, so moving on. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Okay, so 1920 by 960 is going to be the resolution of our canvas. And we're going to go ahead and put a piece of content on that. Great. Now you should be able to... no, you won't. But because we're using this other format. But the idea behind this is I'm going to go ahead and take my screen and say show canvas. Actually, here is a great example of what I was talking about earlier regarding the projector location. If this was an actual theater, chances of us putting the projector right in front of the screen are quite next to null.
Right.
So chances are that we would actually put the projector alongside the top of this. So let's go ahead and set projector and put this puppy like up here. Let's put that right at top of that. Yeah. And we're gonna go ahead and rotate the projector down to cover our canvas like so. One thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to open a little window down here in the corner so that we can see what the projector is seeing. Because that's just another important aspect of why I like AI so much. So let's go ahead and put this puppy right here. And another fun bit of information that Aaron was covering on Friday's class is if you press Control and you right click on any of the salvation modules, I can, in this case, I can hide boom, 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 boom. Edit Arnet, control, properties, and then I can make it so that you don't see the border on it. No, never mind. I lost it. Anyway, there's our little window. So what did I want to show with that? I want to show the following. If you put, we'll put the bars just because it's easy to see. You will notice the following on the construction page. Let me move this up.
Are you able to store this angle as we're looking at it right now? This entire view?
The view in the construction page?
Yeah.
Yes. So you have 3 views that you can record in AI. You can recall those with F7, F8, and F9. So one thing that I always like to do is find my optimal view, let's say like right in front, and do Shift F8 to record that as like my, F8 is always my go-to. And then F7, let's say that we're working on the projection aspects like this, and we want to see a bit of an orthographic view. Shift F7 will record the first one. So now F7 and F8, quickly change between those. And then lastly, for the last one is F9. So I don't know, let's say that we want a eagle eye view of the stage. Shift F9, and now we can F7, F8, F9. And if we press F11, you can actually rotate between all 3 of those. So that's it's an automated camera jib move type thing. Cool. So back to this insanity. What I wanted to show was the following. So see how our projection here, if I put my projector back on projector, put this back on 0 and back in, zero angle. Right now our image is perfectly square and it fits nice and snug inside of that aspect ratio. But as I begin to shift this, so if I'm gonna raise my projector, Y position up here, you can see how in real time the projection output is changing down here on our output. So if I grab that projector now and I start rotating it, you know, all the rotations, all the changes take place in AI in real time. So now you're seeing how the angles of that, right? We're seeing the keystoning, almost like a keystoning happening. And it's not. It's just basically AI making the magical math of saying, oh, you're coming at this angle and all that. So we're basically reverse mapping the image onto the surface that we're putting in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Put into more complicated terms, but I understood the keystoning.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's not keystoning, but it's just what you're doing is
Right,
tracking
right.
the
It
3D
mimics it.
model and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So now what we need to do is make that screen move up and down. So in order to do that, we're going to come to our salvation side of things. And we're going to grab our screen here. And we're going to right click on the screen module and say load alternate skin. And there's a beautiful option called dynamic adjustment, which exposes this variety of ports down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a controller constant. This is just a way that I'm going to use to translate commands from my MIDI controller, which we're going to use to simulate quick control. And basically I'm going to, which can't see, I'll add another camera tomorrow for the future classes so that you guys can see this. But basically, if we grab this controller and we say map, select the control, edit MIDI map, and I'm gonna set it to my mini PC, and I'm going to learn this value. So as I bring my fader up and down, you can see the value coming up and down. Yep. And I'm gonna patch that into Y position adjustment. So you can see as I bring my fader up and down, it's moving about a foot, right? Because that's the range of my MIDI channel. MIDI values are meant to come in from 0 to 1. So now we obviously need to change that. There's two ways that we can do this. We can come into our constant controller here, edit MIDI map, and we can set a range here from 0 to, let's say, 25 feet. So now the top of my fader is all the way up there and the bottom of my fader is here. The only problem that I have with doing the changes inside of the controller in here is that there's no visual way to tell where that information is coming in and out of. So with that said, I will disable this range. This is just like a quick, I like the range because it gives you an easy to find center of information for that. But if you're trying to do something that's like more like a permanent installation where you need to perhaps be able to review information quickly, then your best way it's going to be to set this back to the default values and we'll add a math modifier. So math, and we'll put a vector math right here, where we can set, this is my input, it's gonna come into 1, and we're gonna add a text. Actually, we can do that constant again, but this time we're gonna right click it and say alternate skin into text, and we'll feed that numeric value into it, and we'll say, instead of an additive function, we're gonna change this into a multiplication function. And the product of that is gonna go into our Y position. So just to break it down. So we have a 0 to 1 value coming in here, right? We're gonna use this module in between to basically multiply that value from 0 to 1 to the value connected on the second port. In this case, we're going to move from 0 to 25 feet. So we'll set that to 25, and now that should give us that little control. Does that make sense? If I want to get a little more nerdy with this particular patch, just for, you know, a good integrator type of cover your back value, you can add in the controller section. There's also a monitor, so now you can output from your multiplier into the monitor and out of the monitor into their value, and basically you'll have a numeric display of that information directly on that. Now, obviously, this control that is currently just a MIDI value, we can switch it for something else. So, for example, let's say that we're taking an ARNet command. If it's maybe information that we're receiving from a console, or instead of MIDI, we want to use, again, something other than MIDI. We can insert module under network. We're going to be looking for ARNet input, and there's a small version of it. And so now I can grab my output here and specify which network device I want to use, right? If I have multiple network cards in my server, specify a universe for that and a channel. Let's say that I want it on, you know, channel 512, for example. And so now if I was to receive DMX information down universe 1 channel 512, that should be controlling then the position of that good. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Ruben, we have a question here from Quadrupel.
Yeah.
It says, how do you get the monitor displayed in the UI?
In the UI.
You might be talking about the screen in the construction page. Is that right?
This guy down here. If it is the window, what we want to do is a insert module, GL, which is GL's where like anything that's a yellow port, it's gonna be under the GL section, and we're gonna enter a window, and just connect the window over to the output of the projector. No, the math monitors, you can see
the math monitor.
Most of those numeric controls are under controller. So basically things like a constant or an LFO. Also, where's the controller? Monitor is the one that you're looking for. And the monitor just has to, the one caveat of the monitor, it needs to have something plugged into the output for it to actually display information. So if there's no connection, if there's no destination for that information, it's just going to stay there and not necessarily read out a final value unless you do that. Cool. So we've done constant for a manual constant. I believe we can even do, if we did a MIDI, here. It's actually a better way to the MIDI where I can say this guy, Omni, and I can select this guy. Yeah, perfect. So here I can have MIDI control in a more effective way, just because it'll show me what the device and the CC channel versus just mapping it to a MIDI, mapping a wheel to a MIDI controller. And then we could even set this to controller LFO. We're gonna set our own little funky bit of music here. We can go from 0 to 1, and we can output an automated wave in there as well. Cool. So we have so far done a moving scenery or moving projection sequence. Obviously, the beautiful thing about this is that as the backdrop is moving in and out of range, the image is moving with that. So that part is simple. Basically, you're by tracking the actual good that's moving in and out of the picture, you start seeing the black behind it, so that you're not projecting it to the background. Let's see, what else can we add for automation?
I would like to see how all of this applies with a second model in play, if that's not getting too far ahead.
Okay, you mean like if we had actually, this is a great application for theater. If you have which actually this makes perfect sense to go into now, because this happens often in theater, particularly Broadway, where we could actually have the projector could be sitting in the house, kind of flush. Let's turn off the LFO here for a second. Right? We could have our projector sitting in the house at about the same height, perhaps at the top.
Okay.
If it's something like this, and maybe it's sitting like right on the balcony rail or something, that kind of gives it that almost like it should be like right there. And let's actually go ahead and change that to like a really long lens to give that impression. I'm moving. You can see how I'm moving the projector like really tiny amounts, and that's basically if you press and hold Control while you use the wheel on the fields, it'll give you 1/10 of a unit control, and if you did Control and Shift, it'll do hundredths of a unit control for any value that you're trying to track. Right, so that puts our projector right where we want it with full coverage. And you can see how, this will be perfect. And now we could have, an upstage cyc. So let's make this the same size as the other one. We can do that by simply selecting the first one, hitting Control C, and then going to the second one and say Control V to paste. And now we can just move that second screen further back. This could be our cyc, basically. So we'll set this guy to I don't know, -30, because it's all the way back there. And so we could have a problem with this, like so. If we have, let's say, this image going on in the back, and we have our color bars in the front, the way that AI is going to work by default is that if I do move, and let's go ahead and put this just really slow. If I do move my front drop, right, it's revealing the content behind it. But however, I may have a separate projector taking care of that screen. So I definitely don't want the image from my front projector to also hit my back projector as well. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, and I think it's something very similar to what Richard is asking here. I think actually that's exactly what he's asking. He wants the content to be displayed on one screen, but not have it take over the screen that it's covering when it moves.
Right. So let me just finish this train of thought here. So if I wanted if I want for my projector to only see and only project on the main screen, on the main, on the downstage screen, I can go to my output page and select my projector. And you will see how the second that I select my projector, you can see the vertices are selected on my front screen. I have a couple options in my mapping editor functions here, such as object and screen plus and minus. This allows me to move from one screen to another screen. So in this case, if I hit plus, it takes me to the other screen versus this. And by selecting the other screen, I can now remove it. So basically now that image, that projection surface is basically, it's still there, And if I go back to my construction page or performance page, you can still see that other video surface. I'm just not projecting on it from this projector. It just avoids that unnecessary outputs on that. This is particularly useful also if you may have like perhaps a back screen might be an LED wall. So you don't need to have
Right.
projection on top of your LED. It'll just be silly, but you could do that. Sorry, Santiago. Santiago, no puedes ver la resolución bien. You can't see the
Yeah,
resolution. Right?
I think he's talking about right. The actual view of your entire screen might be a little bit hard to see, maybe.
Yeah, this is I think part of the reason why some of the viewers prefer to log in through Twitch. I think on Twitch you can actually see the images in 4K. The display itself is HD, but it's some of the visual information is quite small, and I think I may be able to. Yeah, not really. I will take that as in consideration, and I'll try to rebuild some of the streaming presets so that the text can be a little bit bigger for the next one. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I think what Richard wants is the following, where you have an LED wall that moves. Hold on, I'm trying to come up with a bit of information here. Yeah. So if you have your image and this is your LED wall, if the LED wall you want it to track where the content's going, so that it's not just content, and here I'll explain that real quick. Basically, we'll save this whole thing. Just gonna move everything. We'll move all of this out of the way, but keep it keeping our scene for reference. Cool. So I think what Richard's asking for is the following. What if I have an LED wall, like say 16 by 9. Oops. So 1920 by 1080. 16 by 9. Right? And if you have color bars on that, you want to be able to track as the piece of scenic is moving. You want the LED output to track. So traditionally, what we want to do is, if we go over to our output page, we would say, let's say we have, so we'll double click here to make it go full screen. And let's actually divide the screen into like maybe like 4 sections. So size, we can divide by 4. Again, all of AI's fields and salvation can do math. So basically, if I just have a number, such as 1920, and I want to divide that in 4 or 5, I can just add, the formula at the end of that number. So like slash to divide, asterisk to multiply, plus, minus. All the functions are very supported. And even some more complex functions, which if you want to look into those, you can find much more complex functions at Mu Parser, which is a quick mathematical formula format that allows you to do fast mathematical operations in with minimal expressions, such as greater than, smaller than, equal to. It can get really technical. We can cover that in another class. Anyway, so let's divide this by 4. Great, love it. And I'll select this first one, and I can do Control C and Control V, V, and V again. And that's now I have my 4 sections to the screen. So I think what Richard's asking about is, if I have the screen divided into sections, I want to be able to move this particular section of screen, and as it moves across the stage, kind of like this, you want to be able to track it on the LED output as it's being sent out to the LED processor. Well, first things first, you need to create your canvas, your full canvas for that, which is what we did already, and divide it into the sections of screen that you have. Now comes the kind of fun part, where I can select these modules, and I can have them move through. Oh, no. Basically, our output's gonna stay the same. All we need to move is the selection region across the screen, right? So it will be a matter of just moving this guy either one way or the other. For that, we have some fancy little modules in our, hold on, I have a module hidden there. Right, this is all our old moving scenery stuff. So there is a module which I hope it's working properly. Insert module under display output region adjustment. So basically, if you look at this guy, you can say import regions, and you will see 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's basically relating to. Let me delete all these other regions that I have from last week's project. Sorry. And let's call this, we can actually name all of our regions in the output page. So we'll call these auto 1. Actually, you know what? I've been meaning to experiment with the automated notation system here for a second. And I believe that if you do a name and then an underscore and then the number, I think it will keep track of that. So Control C, Control V. Yay, that actually works. Perfect. So we know these are our automated screens and an identifier for each one of those. Yeah. Now we will select import regions, and you will see how our 4 regions are now available here for us to work with. The values that are showing up here are basically related to all the information that we have available here. So I could add, okay, I'm gonna steal that LFO from here, copy it and paste it here. And I'm gonna change the value from 0 to 1 to 0 to 100, I think. And I'm gonna feed that to the red adjustment. Maybe it's 1? Oh, 0 to 1, that's right. So basically now I have a controller for the red value. What I want to play with though is my positions. So I'm gonna disconnect that, and if I right click on this patch, alternate skin, I should have adjust texture. No, sorry. No, alternate skin translation. Correct. And so now I have a source X, which basically should move. Yes, awesome. Right? Okay. So what this value does though, it's an adjustment on the existing parameter. So why is that? What's it important to remember that? You gotta remember where the screen's original position is. So let's reset this red to red and put this guy back on 480. No, 960. Sorry, that's where it belongs. Am I correct? Sorry, 1920 divided by 4 and then plus 480. Why? No. I'm doing something really wrong, and I'm not sure what it is. Something in my mind's formulas are not working right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So this is everyone's original position. Just to make sure that in case that anything goes wrong, I'm gonna go ahead and save this configuration real quick. By going here to my configuration saves and say config1. Now, if what I'm trying to do is move, we can kind of like just show this for real quick. So let's say that I have, we can do it the silly way where I can grab my screen here and say, okay, you are going to be at 0 and you are going to be at 1440. No, sorry. What's the position for this one? 1440. So we'll move this one as well to 1440 and we'll save this as another configuration. Open, right? So we'll have basically a close and an open position for those that I can quickly load here by saying config1. Let's go ahead and load them here. So configuration 1 and open. So now I have a close and an open version of those. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I basically, this could be like my, like a backup. If automation goes down, I can like quickly go from like open position to closed position and just, you know, kind of deal with that, but that's an option. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and go and load configuration 1. And now we'll go back to our here. And so we'll know, okay, I have, where is it? My output for output 3, if I have a value from 0 to 1, translation on the X. So that's right now going to be moving only 1 pixel in that direction, right? I'm going to have to add a formula to that. So math and vector math right there. So same old trick as on the last one. So we're going to feed an input and a numerical value to multiply by. In this case, it's going to be the number of pixels that we want to move. So in this case, it's how wide is this? This is 480 pixels. So we want to move 480. And multiply. So basically now all we need to do is send the console a numerical value from 0 to 1, and that's going to move that screen 480 pixels that way as it's moving. Does that make sense?
If you wanted to do something similar across different outputs, let's just say you had a lot more screens and stuff, you can copy those configurations and just manipulate those configurations to the different outputs, right? Like those configurations are saved and you can just copy paste them to other outputs to, let's say instead of side to side, your movement was up and down and you had both things going on.
Yeah,
you can use that configuration and just change it, right?
Yeah, you could. So for example, in this case, let's say that we have a trolley control that moves in this way, and then you also have maybe a height control. You could just, we'll just duplicate this whole equation here in a way. Control C, Control V. And then we'll put that on the translate Y for the height. In this case, though, we're moving 1080 pixels tall. And actually minus 1080 because we're moving up, not down, unless the screens are somehow coming out of the ground. But that would be the motion. You can even slow it down here as well. Yep.
And you would just move all this to the other output and have
correct.
both
Yeah.
things going on.
Exactly. One thing that may happen though, and we'll just show that real quick. If I copy this and let's say I put it on output 3, because you change the region name, you'll just have to re-import your regions and then specify, hey, I wanted that on region 5.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Cool.
There is one bit, man, we're kind of...
Yeah, I think Richard is asking. He wants to see it on the performance page.
You want to...
previous of those movements.
We can. Can we? Can we do it real quick? We can. Basically, if I grab my width and I split it into 4. Let's go to the performance page. So we've grabbed that, split into 4s. All right. All right, Richard.
I think he's just challenging you.
Of course he is. Of course he is. And he knows I'm gonna take the bait. every time. I'll put my controls down here. So what that's gonna require though, it's we're gonna need more screens. Basically, we're gonna need to split our geometry real quick. So 1920 divided by 4. And we'll just copy only the screen fixture. Control C, Control V, and Control C, Control V over here. Okay, so basically we have one texture, which is the one layer of video that we want to use, shared among 4 different screens. Okay, so think about it as this way, right? The difference is going to be that we're going to have this guy here, kind of like, actually, let's move this guy here. I think you're like right there, and Drew go right there, and you go like right there, and you go like right. Yeah. Okay, and now we want to move those positions as well. Okay, so we're moving. I need to display that as well. So stand by. Our resolution is gonna stay 1920. Sorry for all of those, because what's changing is the UV map for all of those. Damn you, Richard! You're making me work so hard.
He is sorry, just so you know. He's at least apologetic about it.
Is he? Did he say sorry? Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, we'll let it go this time. Okay, so select this, and we're gonna have to redo the UVs for all of these. So basically, screen 1, we're gonna put you to what am I looking for? Oh yeah, find the position for it. So this is going into much more depth that I wanted to get to today, but that's fine. That's fine. We're here to we're gonna save that model with a new UV in here, and what's this called? We'll call these A1. Then go to the next screen and say you are gonna move to 0.25. Actually, one. So what this allows me to do is just change the numerical UV value for each screen. But one thing that AI allows you to do as of some recent version is that you can actually see the value in resolution as a resolution value. So I can say, actually, I want this side of the screen to start at 480 pixels, and this guy is going to be at 960 move to pixels, right? So there we go. There's that bit, and then save. Ay, Richard, you're killing me here. 82. And now I'm just too committed to not finish it. So that's the worst part. 960 move to, and then here's a great example. I can never remember the exact the third division of 1920, but you could do 1920 divided by 4, and I know it's 1440, but whatever. And so I put 1920 divided by 4 and then multiply times 3.
I don't think it can be undone, Richard.
What?
Can't be undone.
No,
He
no,
wants
no.
to undo the question. No, I
No,
don't think
too
so.
bad, brother. You got me here. It's okay. We have another good 15 minutes or so. So I'll save this as models A3. It is YC3 takeover week anyway, so it's fine. And then this last one will make it 1440. Move 2. Cool. So there's that guy, and then we'll obj save models A4. Cool. Right. So now we have 4 screens. Sorry, wrong screen. Maybe I should label them so that I can see them. A1, A2. There you go. A3. Considering how big of a cable Nazi I am, the fact that I'll build AI show files and never put fixture names, it's quite telling of my mental disasters. Okay, so we have screen 1, 2, right? 2 right here, and 3 and 4 next to those. So if I want those to move now to the same information, I can. This may or may not work as smoothly as I want it to, but if we win, we win. If we lose, we want to, because knowing is half the battle. I'm gonna select this alternate skin dynamic adjustment. Alternate skin, dynamic adjustment. Alternate skin, dynamic adjustment. Actually, technically, we only need to move the 2 on the outside, but alternate skin, dynamic adjust, cool. And so to move this guy outwards, we're going to add our... Okay, so technically it's the output from this LFO. And we're going to send that to its X position adjustment, right? With one tiny difference is that because we're moving the other way and we don't want to change. Okay, this is gonna get convoluted. Sorry, guys. So, okay, so this value that it's here, it's moving the Y resolution on the output. This one here is moving. These 3 guys is moving the X resolution. Let's go ahead and group those real quick. So Control G, and we'll say output X. We'll Control G and group those again. And this is output Y, just for clean record keeping. So now our X here, which is going in here as well, we want to take that and insert module, math, vector math, send that guy into here. Oh no, wait a minute. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. I think, yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's show connections. X. What am I doing? What am I doing? Right, so these LFOs, sorry, my brain was working the other way around, like a ding dong. You go to X, you go to Y. And now, this is all your fault, Richard.
Hey, Rafi, you just came in just in time to see Ruben go down a rabbit hole,
Right,
accepting
yeah.
Richard's challenge.
X is gonna move the X. Not that one. I'm looking for my LFO's output. There, right here. So this guy's gonna move into my X position adjustment. Yeah. The difference is that this, because I want to keep the same speed, so I'm gonna need a whole new formula and variable for that. So Control C and Control V, and the output of this guy is gonna come to this adjustment. So that allows me now to change. Okay, I need this to go. You can see how that's moving 480 times that way. I'll need it to move minus 4 if I change it to, instead of, yeah. So there we go. We're moving that scenic piece, and by moving that scenic piece, we're having which one was that? Sorry, I'm forgetting. That's meant to be
It's
A2.
a fast piece of content.
That's yeah, it is A2. Ay, ay, ay. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Richard, and make sure to ask loaded questions on Wednesday when we have him here talking about Wisin y Yandel's no, the Utopia show. Hey, Rafi.
Rafi, you are probably the only audio guy here. Yeah.
Anyway, you guys get the theory of it. What's next? I think no, we have a good 7 minutes left. So, do we have any outstanding questions that are not another challenge into black
Anyone
holes?
except Richard. Anyone who's not Richard, if you guys have any questions.
See, now I kind of want it to like.
Tell Rafi to get out.
No audio guys allowed. No, I'm kidding. What's going on, Rafi? Let me add insert module. Math. And I'm gonna add another vector. Actually, there's a vector formula that's quite quick. Another option for controlling things, where now this model, I want it to move in the opposite direction. So I can input that into A and output that into this guy by saying, actually, no, never mind. No, let's just do it the way that we've seen it already. We will do math, vector, formula. No, Ruben, come on. Math, vector math. And we'll take the output of this guy.
Yo, Cliff. David Cliff is in the house.
Control C. What up, Cliff? And we're gonna do a -1 multiplier, and that should flip the direction for. There you go. Look at that. Beautiful. Awesome. We have all kinds of automation going on. All right, who's next? Nice. Bring it!
We're accepting all challenges today.
Is there
a template that comes with a basic moving scenery set?
You know what? I think that was definitely in the talks. Let me save this first. We're gonna call these moving scenery. Wow, my caps is definitely inverted. And right, so it was definitely on the talks of getting 12.1 going. So let's check. Blank project, ArtNet mapping. So if you go to your file project browser, there's a variety of projects, of pre-made projects. You know what? And I think I know the answer to that. So the immediate answer is no. And the reason for that, it's going to be because there's so many types of automation that you could do. I mean, just in here, where we're talking about using, where is it? Yeah. So we have LFO, ARNet, MIDI, and then you can get even more complicated. So you have networking with TCP/IP, AI TCP module. You can also do, if you're doing something that's more position control, you also have import. It's somewhere in here. You have under network. Yeah, black tracks. On top of that, other than black tracks, you also have what's the other one? It's also a networking module, which I know they just added in 12.0. PSN, AI PSN receiver. So again, there's so many variables, and each one of them require a certain finesse to how they're applied to the show. I think that would be the why there's no a default project or sample project. But if you reach out to myself or to support and say, hey man, I'm working with a project with this and that, the number of times that I've created a sample project, or at least a starting, like, hey, here's the basics of it, should be available. What's happening there? Is that Richard?
Yeah.
Is that another challenge?
No, he's saying you can have a simple moving scenery template if you have one or two reveal screens going up and down. I think I understand what you're saying, though. You're saying the templates would have to be too specifically constructed, so
yeah,
it doesn't work because you would need an infinite amount.
You know what? Now, for those who don't know already, so like my role as AI's US support person ends May 1st, but I'm still gonna be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You know what, Richard? Since you love giving me challenges, I will take you up on that challenge. I will start, as I record these tutorials, I'll start creating templates that will be available in the Creative Integration Studio page. You will have to sign up for the newsletter in order to get access to them, though. It will be my niche group of friends that have access to it. Sorry, that's just what I want to do. But I will start creating templates for all of these. And so if you go to creativeintegration.tv or creativeintegration.studio, sign up for the newsletter, and then you will have access to this secret library of AI goodies.
I think I'm in that group of niche friends. Right?
Absolutely. Well, you're here. You heard it here first.
Cool. Man, we got pretty advanced, I think, with went down.
There's one bit that I did not touch, and I didn't touch it because I already touched it. If you go back to 3 weeks ago, for the in which show did I make that? Oh, preview and post. The one type of control that I didn't put was the adjusting UVs with your model. So if you look at the Mana show, how I recreated that show, you can find I very much put like step-by-step instructions on how to achieve that effect on that video.
Cool. What I would like to see maybe in a future class is maybe like a real world application, another recreation maybe with actual moving scenery, or just something that uses multiple projectors and multiple canvases.
Yeah, sure. Actually, the one thing that I regret is I had ordered a small Chinese DMX fixture, uh,
Hmm.
precisely for that. It's not anything fancy. It's just a little LED wash. But the what I wanted it was for the moving joke of it. So basically, just having a thing that has rotation on and in some sort of tilt, because you can expose those parameters. So for example, and I'll just do that last quick example here. If I go back to my construction page, here is yet another example. I'll add screen. We'll put this here on the left. And let's say this is going to be a cube, which we have a default cube here under C. Avolites, AI, distrib, models, there's a default cube. So I can drag and drop that model into here. And we'll make that, let's go ahead and make that guy like 10 by 10 by 10. Right? And I'm going to put another projector in my project. And that projector, just for expediency's sake, let's just make that one by one. Sorry. Grab my projector, move it here to the left, move it back. And I'm going to change that window that we have here to this. Run out of space. Neat. Wider screen. The output of that projector will just feed it to that window. Yep. Cool. So here's my projector and my cube. So what I wanted to do is this fun experiment, which I've done before, but it's always fun to watch. Load, alternate skin, and dynamic adjustment. So basically, take the rotation of this cube. Let's maybe get that projector a bit closer so you can see it. Yeah, better. So there's my cube head on, and I could technically grab, is it the Y rotation? Yeah. So basically, take the pan value for the moving light. Let's say it's going to be, again, insert controller LFO, right? So that goes from minus 180 to 180. And I can take this value and feed it to the Y angle adjustment. And so basically map the pan channel for that for the moving light, stick a cardboard box to that light. And then now, as the light is moving, the cube is rotating with it, and we're going to be tracking those points. That's just a quick practical application for dynamically moving scenery.
Right.
I know that this is a massive patch with lots of spaghetti everywhere. But again, if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll have access to a variety of templates that go through each one of these exercises.
Looks like Elian lost sound. Cool, man.
All right. 10 minutes left. So let's take any other questions. Standing by.
Remember, anyone except Richard is allowed to ask questions.
He has been banned.
I have a VL5 LED. If you want to try pixel stuff with it, I would like to see it.
Yeah.
I would like to see what you were talking about.
I just love VL5s, period. And I'm literally looking forward to seeing the VL5 LED in person.
What's the most friendly system to do moving scenery with AI? Give me this
Uh,
question.
I think that they're all equally. Uh, hmm. If I was to okay, the simplest system out there, Kinesis. I think. No, I'm sorry, Tate. And just because the whole Tate system, the whole Tate automation, the way that they do it, it's they speak everything in and out. Uh, like you can walk up to the to a Tate Towers automation specialist when they're programming, and they'll just sit there. What do you want to feed the system? Do you want to feed MIDI, ARNet, OSC, PSN, Black Tracks, you name it? Like they'll they'll their systems built so that you can take any signal in and any signal out, and things like this. Like we're doing a lot of transactions here, right? Like all these formula automations of like let well, we're taking all the values that we receive. ARNet goes from 0 to 1 or 0 to 255 basically. MIDI goes from 0 to 1. Streaming OSC can be a variable value also. So the beauty of Tate is that they can say, hey, I'll just send you anything in any format that you want, and if you already need to have it normalized or multiplied or anything, they can do it for you. I know that's a bit of a plug towards Tate. The reality is that it really comes down to how do you want to control, like where do you want to put the most of the focus for the control. Whether you want to have all these variables take place inside of AI, or if you want to have all these variables take place in the inside of AI or externally. Uh, then whatever that country has available, bro.
Right. Move. I would say move to another country. Maybe not now.
Like I say, like actually, Richard, what are the moving motors, the smart motors that you guys have in Puerto Rico? Because I always forget. But I know that they have them, and I know that they have positional feedback control. Are those kineses, I think, or I mean, to be honest, you can also like just have like a bunch of guys with the ropes, and then just put the control on a fader, and you move the fader up and down and try to match it with what they're doing.
When Tate sends you an automation command, who sets the parameters of the screen? Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, how do you handle synchronization of moving scenery with rigging involved?
okay, so the main aspect of moving scenery is safety. It's going to be the number one conversation point every single time. So when you look back at when we programmed Omnia in Las Vegas, right? Tate did the installation, and Tate did like all that crazy automation. They make sure that the system's going to respond and act however you tell them to. And once that conversation's had, like, okay, you wanted it to move this way and you want it to move this way, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, they'll program and make that happen. Then comes the fact of how you output that out, and that really has to do a lot with who is the integrator, who is the person that's putting that system together at the end of the day. So in our case, we just said we want a very simple operation. We just need to get everything from 0 to 1, where we know 0 is the floor and 1 is the top. And that's the entire system. When it outputs out to GrandMA or to AI, all we're getting is 0 to 1s. That allows us to just take that transaction, right, and set individual values for what that transaction is in AI. In the receiving system. The reason why this did it this way for Omnia was because, think about it this way, that the MA is working in PSA terms, and at the time AI was working in ARNet and MIDI inputs for positional values. So having multiple protocols output the same system may cause a lack of synchrony between all of those. When really all you're trying to do is just keep a report of where is an object in physical space. So if you ask me, that's usually the best way. Just select the one protocol, something that's globally understandable like ArtNet, and then feed that to all the systems downstream.
Designers with OCD are asking
Hey,
that our squares be in line.
I have 3 minutes left on this, so no.
They're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So most of the times you're gonna be the designers. Like we're gonna be the last in that discussion.
Not the designer,
Considering
the programmer / the integrator, whoever's responsible to make A and B talk. That's the
Yeah.
person that's gonna make that decision. If you ask me,
Okay.
like, it makes sense because how many we're getting to the point of like the seniority of a designer. If you ask a designer that hasn't touched a console, he's just gonna like. Actually, here's a great example. If you ask Rob Sinclair tomorrow, "Hey man, how are you controlling this?" He's just gonna look to the left. I'm sure I know he has a deep understanding of how everything works, but he's not the one programming it. He's gonna turn to his left and look at whoever the programmer that he's hired for that project is. Say like, how are you more comfortable, and what's gonna give me the most efficient result? It goes back to the same conversation. What console's better? What server is better? It's always comes down to like, what are you most efficient and what are you most comfortable with? That is gonna get the job done at the end. I think, if you ask me, that's just my take on it.
Right. We have one more question from Richard. Does AI send back info to the automation system after a command? Or does AI receive the command?
It depends on the protocol and what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do something where like AI controls the automation, which I strongly suggest you do not do that, you let the automation system do its thing and then feed that information to AI. But it could definitely it could do that through like the TCP/IP modules, send stop and go commands. It really should work. It really should, on a perfect world, operate the other way around, for safety's sake. That's it.
Any more question, guys?
Well, you know what? We're gonna close the questions there, but since you're my guest today, or my co-host, I'm going to close this with finding out 10 bits of information about you. For those who are familiar with Inside the Actor Studio, he finishes every show, or with the Pivot questionnaire, which is originally from a French variety show. And so, since you're my guest today, I'm gonna close with that. Okay, Khalil.
Yes.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word. Oh, am I allowed to say that on here?
Yeah.
No. My favorite word is yes.
Nice. What's your least favorite word?
No.
It's a common answer. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Oof. I like painting.
Painting?
It's something that I started doing because lighting was stressing me out a little bit, taking a toll. So I started painting, and it actually taught me a lot about lighting as well. And yeah, now that's what I do when I want to get creative.
Just side question on that: is it watercolors or pencils or?
So I started with oils, and it gets really, really messy. So I'm moving on to acrylics now.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually have like an art studio set up here with a bunch of different paints. So I program here, and when I'm done programming, I move to.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that about you. That's great. What turns you off?
Well, being quarantined apparently. Yeah, I'm having some trouble creatively. I think from being closed up so much.
Nice. What is your favorite curse word?
Um, Shit balls.
Shitballs.
I think you say that a lot.
Uh, only with only if they're holy shitballs in my case. Um, uh, what sound or noise do you love?
um, I like fart noises because I'm immature. I'm still like 8 years old somewhere inside.
Beautiful. What sound or noise do you hate?
Um, that car alarm, like car alarms, like those old car alarms in the morning. I have one outside that goes off every single morning, and I don't know who drives that car, but I hate them and that noise.
Uh, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh man, I have so many. Um, I would love to go back to studying nutrition as I did at one point and do something in the fitness industry, something in the research aspect of fitness industry because it's an industry that suffers from lack of research and misinformation.
Okay.
Same
What?
as ours, I think.
Yeah. What profession would you not like to do?
Uh, I used to want to be a vet, not anymore. Um, I used to also want to work in a zoo and stuff, just basically nothing with animals anymore because I'm very bad with animal poop. Something I learned a lot later on in life.
Uh, okay, and finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Uh, Good job. Welcome in. Come on in. We're waiting for you.
Awesome. Khalil, thank you so much for being my co host today. I'm looking forward to, we have Tomas Villanueva tomorrow at noon
Oh yeah.
Eastern Time. But again, this has been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the week. Uh, to
Yeah, man.
those, yeah, I can't wait till the quarantine is over because, like, you live. Actually, no, you moved a little further away from me now, right? But you were living like
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But again, I can't wait for this to be over and we can hang out again.
Yeah, same here, man. Thank you for having me. I learned so much today. I know we went a little bit past basics, but it's definitely a topic I'd love to touch up on again. If you'll have me sometime.
We will, we will. We'll do a live lab one day soon. Awesome. Thank you so
Cool.
much, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Thank you guys. Bye.